Hello and welcome to Vivi's Level 1 training, the basics of using Vivi in the classroom. My name is Megan. I'm the Customer Education Manager here with Vivi in the US. Let's get started. Our Level 1 content consists of really focusing on sharing our screens in the classroom. And so for today, we are going to be spending a lot of time on that process. Our agenda, though, is as follows. We are going to review how to log in to the Vivi app and connect to your Vivi-enabled classroom. We're going to talk through the process of sharing screens and reviewing the various tools and features of the floating toolbar. One of those in particular is the screenshot annotate feature. We will spend some time discussing best practices for streaming media. There are some slight differences in the share screen ability between the downloaded client app and the web app, so we will talk about both. And then we will wrap up our session today with a review of our whiteboard. When it comes to logging into the application, there are two options that users have. The first is what we call the client app, and that is the version that will be downloaded on your device. It is a blue box with a white V in it. That is our Vivi icon. And Vivi pairs with single sign-on. So you can utilize the same login that you use for everything throughout your day. And Vivi is accessible on any device, whether you're on a PC laptop, a tablet, a MacBook, an iPad, a Chromebook, or even your phone, you can use Vivi. We also have our web app version, and that's accessible as well on any device. They are nearly identical within the types of features that you use and the steps and the processes. However, as I mentioned before briefly, there are some slight nuances with the share screen process. For today's purposes, we're going to spend the majority of our time in the client app. So I'm going to pull the app up onto my screen. Above the login button, you should see your district information. If for some reason you don't, you can select switch organization to find what you need. But I'm going to go ahead and select login and enter my credentials. Now, I have an optional feature set up in my organization called room codes. And if your organization has this implemented, you will see the screen that I'm on right now, which is going to ask you for your room code. However, if room codes are not enabled and you come to what I call the lobby screen, on the left-hand side, there will be a series of drop-downs asking you to choose your particular location and then select your room from the drop-down. One thing that I highly recommend is to indicate the star in your room number so that you can see that room on the right-hand side under favorites. This just makes it a lot quicker and a little bit more efficient to easily connect to your classroom with fewer steps. And you can favorite as many rooms as you need. Once you have your room selected, again, I have room codes enabled, so I have to physically be present in my classroom with my display or screen turned on so I can see the 4-digit code in the lower right bottom of that screen. If you do not have that, no worries. Once you connect to your room, you will be on the home page here like I am. A recent update that we made was to allow users to select a default room. So if you are primarily in one room throughout your day, you can mark your classroom as a default and you will automatically skip the lobby and come straight to your Vivi homepage or that room code page. Just click Set Default and you're good to go. If you need to turn it off, just click Default again and remove it. But now that I'm on the Vivi app homepage, I have access to all the available features that we see here. To kick things off with sharing our screen, best practice is have whatever it is that you want to share up on your desktop. So I have this graphic organizer that I want to share with my class. I have it ready to go. I'm going to click the Vivi icon in my computer taskbar to bring back the Vivi app. And now I'm simply going to click share screen. And in a few moments, I am now wirelessly casting my graphic organizer to my classroom display, which is behind me in the Zoom camera. When I am in the client app and sharing my screen, I have access to this floating toolbar, and you can move it around to wherever it suits your needs. If the toolbar is completely in your way, you can select hide, and the toolbar will fade down into your computer taskbar. Just click the Vivi icon again to pull it back up. To stop sharing, click stop. Your screen will go back to normal and you will be on the Vivi app homepage. I'm going to resume sharing. And here we go. We're back to where we were. Now, something that can be really beneficial when you are actively sharing your screen and you want to be able to multitask is the pause feature. One of the reasons why that was developed is because if I move anything over on my desktop, my students can see it. And we all know that that's not going to be great in most cases. We don't want students seeing everything. And so if I want my kids to start working on this graphic organizer, maybe it's my bell ringer, but I need to get my attendance submitted, I can freeze my display by clicking pause. And now I can pull over on my desktop anything I want, and my students can't see it. Once you're done with whatever you're doing, make sure that you have your desktop set up how you need it to be and click that resume icon. Keep in mind that this pause feature will not work or be compatible if you are streaming media or playing music. Selecting pause will pause that content, but I do have a workaround that we will get to later. Annotate, I'm going to come back to in just a moment. Timer allows you to place a little timer overlay window on your classroom display. So I can manually select or use the little toggle buttons to determine my time. I need to select the corner of my display that I want that to show and click play. It's going to be very difficult to see in my screen due to the glare, but there's now a blue little rectangle in the corner counting down from that 6.5 minutes that I set. I can also on my end see the timer winding down. Once it does get to about the last 15 seconds, it will turn like a yellowy orange color. And when the timer runs out, there will be a sound that will play along with a pop-up that says time's up. I can stop or pause my timer at any point and click that timer icon to turn it off. Give control refers to giving access to students to share their screens. We cover that in our level 2 training, so we won't be talking about that now. When I click the home button, I'm back on the home page, but I want to be back on the screen that I was sharing originally. If you look at the bottom of the home page, there's an icon to the left of the stop button, and that is the toolbar icon. That'll take you right back to where we were. Now, with Annotate, you have the ability to capture screenshots of any content being shared to the classroom display. Whether it's you sharing, a guest presenter sharing, or even students sharing, teachers can capture screenshots. So I'm going to annotate this graphic organizer. So I'm going to select the annotate icon. My screenshot occurred and my image is now on the Vivi whiteboard. I know this because I have a gray toolbar down below with all my applicable tools like my pen. I have highlighters, I have shapes, and I have text. And so I can work with my students on anything that we're sharing in class. And they can see my screen because I'm actively sharing. Anytime you see a red stop button, that means you're sharing your screen. And we can work through things as a class without me having to take any extra steps or pull up another program or anything like that. One thing I like to make really clear when we are discussing annotate screenshot is you have the ability to save everything you do. In the toolbar, the very last icon is the three little lines for more options. When you select that, you have a wide variety of save options, like saving it to your device, a Google Drive, OneDrive, or OneNote. No matter which option you use to save, the image or the file rather saves as an image file so that we can access that later on and actually leverage our saved annotations as a whiteboard background. We will talk about that when we cover our whiteboard. The other added benefit is the show all boards icon. When I select that and click the plus sign, I have the ability to create duplications of my screenshots. So if I wanted to label information differently or highlight different components of, whatever it is that we're doing, I can easily do that without having to replicate that screenshot process. Each board or each annotation has to be saved individually. So I'm just going to repeat this process and save my next board page. If you start to annotate, even if you have saved and you want to start over, you can click the trash can to clear your annotations away. Now I can do whatever else I want to do. When you're done, though, you can click back. If you have not saved a board, either initially or after making changes, you will receive this warning message. Are you sure you want to exit? Your annotations will be lost. Once you leave annotation mode, if you have not saved, it will be gone. So if you need to, click cancel and save. Otherwise, select clear whiteboard and you will be back on the screen we initially were on. So again, clicking annotate captures a screenshot of what is being shared, which allows you to use the whiteboard tools to annotate live with your students. And the more options menu down below allows you to save. All right. Now, before we move on from sharing our screens in the client app, I do want to talk a bit about streaming media options. When it comes to playing media for your students, there are technically two categories of content that we have options for. So the first is called unprotected content. That is typically your YouTube and any downloaded video or audio files. When you're talking about unprotected content, we recommend our play content feature to stream that. We cover that in our level 2 session. However, a lot of times we have access to protected content. That's going to be your big streaming services like your Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Prime, Peacock, all of those, along with anything behind a subscription, a login, or a paywall. Even if it's provided to you for free from your district, protected content is determined by the content owner. And so you will need to be in share screen mode in order to play that. How that process would work is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And I'm going to pull up a Netflix video that I want my students to see. And you may or may not have the ability to play Netflix for your students. This is purely an example. So I'm going to get it ready and all set up. So here we go. I'm going to click back into my Vivi app and I need to share my screen. All righty, there we go. Now, best practice when we're playing media this way is to expand your toolbar and you will see an icon for movie mode. When I click on that, it is going to turn kind of a lighter purple color. But what movie mode does is it provides a 2 to 3 second delay from the time I hit play on my computer until the video starts to play for my students. And those 2 to 3 seconds just gives the file some time to sync, clarify the resolution, and make sure that it's the best possible streaming quality available. You don't have to have movie mode selected to play a video, but it definitely can help and not hurt. So now that I'm ready to go, I'm just going to hide my toolbar and hit play. So it started playing for me, and now it started playing for my students. Only you will notice the difference, your students will not. Now, while I'm in this version of sharing my screen with media, I am not going to be able to multitask. There is a workaround for that, so I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment. When you're done with your video, simply stop it, take it off your page, stop sharing your screen, and you're good to go. Now, stopping the share process will automatically turn off movie mode. If you were to keep your stream active, your share active rather, just make sure you click that movie mode icon in the toolbar. All right, so my workaround for being able to multitask when using multimedia is actually going to be the web app. So I'm going to pull over on my screen my web app, and it can be accessed again at app.vivi.io. The homepage is going to look nearly identical. The login process is identical and everything else. The main difference here is when I select share screen, I get a pop-up. And this pop-up is going to ask me specifically, what is it that I want to share? Do I want to share a particular tab, window, or an entire screen? If you're using content with audio, you're only going to be able to choose between a tab and make sure that audio button's turned on, or an entire screen and make sure that audio button is turned on. Window does not have audio capability, and it even says so down here to share audio, share tab, or screen instead. Now, it does time out after about 30 seconds, so I do need to repeat this process. All right. And let's say I want to go back to that Netflix video. So I'm going to select the tab and I'm going to click share. And so now my Netflix, there we go. My Netflix tab, which is actually in a different screen, is now projecting to my classroom display. If I wanted to turn on movie mode, just to give it a boost, while there is no automatic floating toolbar in the web app, all the same features are down below, and the little film strip guy is movie mode. And so now I can play my video for my students. It starts to play for them, but I can now use my device to do other things. I can open up another program. I can pull over any program or document I'm using. My students aren't going to be able to see this. So the web app can be a really great tool to use when you're going to be primarily using streaming media, but you still need your device to do some other work. When you're done with your video, simply click stop or stop all. And you will be back on the Vivi homepage and your screen will go back to normal. So again, with share screen, in the web app, I can pick specifically what I want to share. So maybe I just wanted to share my little graphic organizer from before. Now I'm sharing it, but because I chose a specific window, I can still multitask while my students work. Don't have to worry about that pause option. All right. Stop share. And there we go. So right now I have switched back to the client app. And the reason for that is I wanted to demonstrate our share window option here. Because we had a lot of positive feedback on the share options for the web app and being able to select specifically what it is that you wanted to share instead of just whatever was on the foreground of your desktop, we added share window. And similar to the window that appears when we're in the web app, we have an ability to choose specifically which window of content we'd like to share. But remember, share window does not have sound capability. So I'm going to select what I want. Alrighty. And there we go. I have my floating toolbar and everything's going to act the exact same way as if I were in share screen mode. The only difference is I can pull over on my desktop anything I want and my students can't see. So if you're someone who is a little concerned about being able to multitask and not have to worry about the pause option, sharing window can be a really great tool for that. I highly recommend play around with all three options, figure out what makes the most sense for you and your teaching style and the type of content that you're wanting to use, and go with that option. There really isn't a right or wrong way to share your screens. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. A couple little tidbits when it comes to streaming media in particular, aside from movie mode, when we're talking about protected content. Some things that can help make sure that your quality is the best it possibly can be is to be mindful of how many tabs you have open on your browsers. The more tabs you have open, the weaker your internet connection becomes, which can interfere with the quality of your videos. Try to limit yourself to no more than 10 when you're streaming. It does make a big difference. Additionally, restarting your device, your computer, your tablet, your Chromebook regularly helps tremendously. I do recommend restarting every day. However, some of us don't want to do that, and that's okay. I would recommend at least at the end of the week, maybe Friday afternoon before you get ready to head home, either do a restart or shut it down so that your device can be fresh for Monday. All right, we're going to wrap things up with a review of our whiteboard feature. So I'm just going to click on that. Because I wasn't actively sharing when I came over here to the whiteboard, if I do want to share, which I think majority of the time you would want to, the far icon in the upper right corner is present my screen and allows you to share your whiteboard. Now, the toolbar below is nearly identical to the toolbar that we're in when we're in annotation mode, but there are two differences. First, the show all boards icon, when I select that, I'm not duplicating a particular board. I'm simply giving myself additional board pages to work with. And you can have up to 50 boards at any time. Once you have the amount of boards you want, click that X. And now I can navigate using the arrows on the sides to move between my boards. The second major difference is going to be the set background icon here in the middle of the toolbar. When I select that, I have the ability to leverage some preloaded templates, such as graph paper, line paper, handwriting, and staff paper. I have some graphic organizers and even some sports fields. And I can mix and match and use as many or as few of these as I would like. So maybe I want graph paper for my first board. I'm going to select it, and now I have graphing paper. I'm going to click over to my second board and repeat the process. Maybe I want staff paper. There we go. And again, click over, repeat the process, grab my Venn diagram. Now, in addition to the preloaded templates, you have the ability, as I mentioned before, to leverage any image files saved on your device as a background. All you need to do is select Add Image, and you're going to navigate to the place on your device to where that image was saved. So here is the annotation that we took earlier that I saved, and I'm going to apply it to my board. So if you start a classroom activity and you don't finish it, save your progress the next day, pull it back up as a whiteboard background. And now I can use my tools and go through and finish what we started. If I want to save my progress, I'm going to just go to the More Options menu and choose how to save. Saving over an existing image or annotation will not override your original file. It's going to create a new one. So you will have access to copies of your work throughout your process, which is great if you have students on accommodations or you just like to keep track of what you do in your classroom. I can make annotations, and if I decide, you know what, I don't like that, I want to redo it, I can select clear whiteboard, and only my new annotations go away. Additionally, I can add a PDF document. You're just going to click Add PDF, navigate to the PDF document on your device. Give me just a moment to find my PDF. There we go. Once you select it, it is going to pull out each page of that PDF into its own page option. And then you can select the page or pages you want and apply it to the board. So if you have graphic organizers that are saved in a PDF format, copies of literature, worksheets, things along those lines, you can easily leverage those in the whiteboard and annotate them as you need to. When it comes to saving, again, each board has to be saved individually. So if I wanted to create a template and compare, football to soccer, and that's kind of a little crooked. There's a little selector icon here at the front of the toolbar. If I click on it, I can then move it around and resize it if I need to and go from there. So maybe I want to keep this template because I want to use it over and over again. Just save it as you normally would. And then you have it that you can pull it up later on or throughout your year or next year to keep using. When you are in the whiteboard, you do have the share screen timer option again as well. So you can set your timer. I can close the little X and I can see how much time remains in that little green box, which is great for timed activities and so forth. If I want to clear out all of my annotations and my backgrounds, there is a second trash can in the More Options menu for clear all boards. Select that, and all your board pages will go back to blank white pages. All right, that is the end of our level 1 Vivi training for the classroom app. I do want to thank you for your time. Give me just a minute. And want to let you know that we do have additional resources available to you on our training hub at vivi.io/training. There are app tutorial videos, self-paced courses. When we have webinars scheduled, they are listed there, along with teacher tips and printable resources. It's free to access. There is no login, so feel free to use as much or as little as you'd like. But I just want to thank you all for your time. I hope that using Vivi is as simple and as fun as it possibly can be, but definitely reach out if you do need any help. Thank you and have a wonderful day.